Every language has a word for speed. In Russian, it's skorost. We have an intuitive feeling for speed. We know this is slow, and this is fast. But how do we put a number on that? How do we measure speed? Well, for one thing, we need the concept of time. To measure time, we'll use an hour. Now, you know about hours. For instance, most school classes are about an hour long. That's about as long as you can concentrate on one thing. You get an hour for lunch. A lot of TV shows are an hour long. And of course, clocks are divided into hours. But we're interested in speed. We're also going to need a number for distance. And we're going to use miles. Now, how long is a mile? Well, the easiest way to measure it is to talk about how long it takes to travel a mile. Now, if you walk at a nice, easy pace, you'll go about 3 miles in an hour. Of course, you have to keep up a steady pace, but I'm sure you can do that. Now, there's our speed number, 3. And it stands for 3 miles in an hour. Now, here's a question for you. Suppose you were to walk for 2 hours. How far would you go? Well, you'd be walking 3 miles 2 times. Hey, 2 times. So that's 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 miles. And that's how times gets into all this. Now, suppose you were to walk for 3 hours. Of course, now you'd have to keep up a steady pace for 3 hours. You'd have to be pretty tough to do that. But let's say you could. How far would you go? It would be 3 times 3, or 9 miles. Now, if you're going to take a car trip, let's say you planned on going at 50 miles in 1 hour. Then how far would you go if you drove for 10 hours without stopping? Well, that would just be 10 times 50, or 500. 500 miles. If you traveled 50 miles in an hour for 10 hours, you'd go 500 miles. That would be good to know if you're planning a car trip. So there are some other ways that times can be used. And we can see that times is pretty important. So let's close this volume and begin learning how to multiply by small numbers.